Hello, welcome to another edition of Capital City Matters. I'm former Mayor John Landwehr, and we talked about doing a few more of these shows maybe through the end of the year. Just a time to get together once a month and talk about stuff going on in the community and maybe taking a little more time than you normally get in the media or in a quick newspaper article. We try to pick something that deserves a little more attention. And I'm really happy to have with me two folks who are going to talk today about something that you've heard about in the news quite a bit, and I think you're going to continue to hear about in the news, and that's something called transformation. And it's part of the Chamber's strategic planning initiative, and it's got a lot of moving parts. And today, to help us break out a couple of those moving parts and visit about them in detail, I have Beth Utrecht and Ryan Freeman. Now, Beth and Ryan were co-chairs of one of the committees that were involved in this whole process. And we want to talk about some of those things that are focused on Lincoln. But before we focus on those Lincoln components, Ryan, how did this all get started?
Well, I think it was a little over a year ago. The Chamber saw that our population in Jeff City was aging, and that the younger generation, the younger population was the smallest percent of the population in Jefferson City, and they started asking questions, why is this possible? How can this happen? How can we attract young professionals to our area? And it just opened up a lot of things, a lot of ideas, opinions, and that's when they went out and hired a consultant to come in. John Roberts with TIP Strategies came in, and they realized that in order to get younger professionals, it's just not about creating jobs, it's all about quality of life in Jeff City. And so this large report was done over a 6-8 month time period. A steering committee was formed with the Chamber during that period to kind of get some of the community members' input. And that strategy and outcome was put in place in January. They presented it to the community and just had a lot of neat ideas on how Jefferson City can not just attract young professionals, but can become a vibrant, healthy community and a growing community.
Beth, it's all under the definition of economic development. Now, 10, 15 years ago, economic development consisted of bringing manufacturing client to Jefferson City to create good jobs. That's not true anymore, is it?
That is not true anymore. And we heard that from John Roberts a lot, because he has been a consultant and has looked at communities that have been successful. And manufacturing is important, but you really have to look at a lot of other factors and how you can attract talented individuals and technologies and a lot of other areas.
Ryan, the Chamber kicked this off, but the input that the Chamber has been receiving hasn't just been from Chamber members. They really kind of made the tent a lot bigger, right?
Not at all, not at all. What they did after the strategy was put into place and the consultant gave their plan for the transformation, the Chamber came out with 9 different opportunities. They took all that big plan and lumped them into 9 different areas that they thought we could really focus on, and they wanted to get as many community members as possible involvement. And that's where they did ask, and that's how Beth and I got into the transformation. Is we chaired the Lincoln University Action Team, but there was also 8 other action teams, and we tried to get as much community involvement as possible. I know with our committee we had over 50 members of the community, and it's amazing how many people, I forgot the exact number, but over 400 or 500 community members were involved with these plans, with all the action teams.
Well, Lincoln University, of course, is right here in the middle of town, and it is our institution of higher learning. And I was very pleased that so much of the energy, it seems like, that's now coming out of these proposals, so much of the energy, so much of the interest really is centered around Lincoln University. Let's talk about some of the specific things. Now, the Chamber, through this broad strategic planning process, has come up with about, I'm thinking, I've got a list here, what do you think, about 20, 25, I'll call them nuggets, okay? Things that through this process of working through the economics, getting the information that needed to be obtained, this process has produced about, I'm thinking 20 or 25 nuggets. 6 of those nuggets are directly related to Lincoln University. Right?
Exactly.
Let's talk about those nuggets a little bit. Several of the nuggets, I don't think anybody on the steering committee has ever approved my use of the word nuggets, but I'm going to call them nuggets.
Opportunities, nuggets, yeah.
Opportunities.
Yeah.
Of the 6 of the opportunities that are directly related to Lincoln, 4 of them, interestingly enough, are directly related to something else that's huge in our community, and that's the old St. Mary's Hospital site, right?
Yeah, true. And I think what John Roberts talked about was, for a lot of different reasons, he just felt we weren't leveraging the major university in our town as best we should be. And so he gave us some ideas on how to make that possible. And one of them was, obviously, St. Mary's is going to be leaving their facility. It's for another state-of-the-art hospital here in town, and their hospital sits on both major highways. It has an enormous amount of parking and an enormous amount of potential for our community, and we just didn't want to see that sit as a vacant building. And so he came and, with the idea of leveraging Lincoln a little bit more, had some great input and ideas for some programs that could go into Lincoln and fill a lot of that space at St. Mary's.
Well, it's almost, Beth, it's almost like what might have been just an eyesore or a problem, namely an old facility, an old hospital that's right under our noses, may turn out to be a huge opportunity.
It will be the perfect setup because the infrastructure is there, and why not make good utilization out of that building for a real need that Lincoln University has at this point for additional space.
Okay, and one of the let's hop right into I think a major opportunity, and that is tell me a little bit about, Beth, about Lincoln University's nursing program and why that might be a fit.
Okay, right now the nursing program at Lincoln is limited in space. They have students on their waiting list that they cannot expand the program because of that space limitation. And we know that there is a need, there's a growing need for additional people in the healthcare profession. I think the statistics that we had was something like 22% over the next 8 years that there is a need for additional nursing personnel. And like I said, the space, the infrastructure is there at St. Mary's. The labs that are over there, the patient rooms that are already set up. And I know one of the things that Ryan was really interested in was like simulation rooms, that there is like a mannequin. That mannequin costs, one mannequin is $125,000, but it is a perfect learning tool. Ryan didn't like the idea of having
I didn't want them practicing on me, to say the least, so it's good that they can get some practical.
Right. But it's just a perfect setting, and I think that's one of the things that was sort of like, this is just sort of a no-brainer.
Kind of a no-brainer.
Exactly.
Well, let me ask you this, though. Let me ask you a critical question, and that, the community is, and through the strategic planning process, is thinking, so Old St. Mary's Hospital site, Lincoln University has a need to expand its nursing program. Has anybody checked with Lincoln on this?
By all means.
Okay.
Lincoln, Dr. Mahoney was at the majority of not just the St. Mary's Annex meetings, but also a lot of the other opportunities, because as you said, 4 different nuggets or opportunities of Lincoln, and it's been amazing to work with not just the Lincoln staff, but a lot of the other higher institution staffs. Lynn State, obviously, Dr. Claycomb came to a lot of the meetings, and tell you the truth, they were the ones that were driving a lot of the ideas, because I don't think a lot of the community realizes how great the nursing program is at Lincoln and how much possibilities it can have if we would just let it expand a little bit.
We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and talk about 3 more of these nuggets where Lincoln University might get plugged into the St. Mary's site and some other interesting things. So we'll be right back.
9, 10. 10 little piggies ready to play. The big pig is Pedro. Pedro Piggy. He's the big piggy.
Everyday moments can become teaching moments because learning starts long before school does. Give your child the start they need at bornlearning.org.
Welcome back to the second part of our program. We have Beth Utrecht and Ryan Freeman, and we're talking about the Chamber's strategic planning process. The nickname is Transformation. And we were talking about the components of that program that are related to Lincoln University, and 4 of those big components are really things that could occur at the, I call it the old St. Mary's Hospital site, since they're building the new hospital out on 179. We talked about the expansion of the nursing program. There's another nugget or another opportunity, and it has to do with research and health informatics. Tell me why that's an opportunity.
We feel that's one of the fastest growing fields in the medical profession. There's a federal mandate for all hospitals and medical facilities to go to electronic medical records. I think it's in 5 years, 2015 or 2016.
I think actually it's the end of 2012.
Well, 2012 is when St. Mary's and Capital Region, I know, are definitely going to it. So all of these hospitals have a need for staffing and for people that are knowledgeable about not just networking and computers, but also the health side of it, things as well. So for this new push, there's going to be a huge lot of job opportunities and growth, and that's why Lincoln is going to start a new master's program in health informatics.
Okay,
and
so we'll have the space for them, which is critical. They'll work up the curriculum, and there will be an educational component, but also I'm assuming that there'll actually be some business being conducted there. In other words, people being hired, actually doing health informatics, and with the internet, of course, we could do health informatics here for a hospital in Portland if we wanted to.
Well, and that is one of we found little hidden gem in our community is Geo Partners, and they just deal with health informatics, and we're ranked as one of Forbes' fastest growing 100 small companies, and it's amazing how much need they have for employees at their building, and that's what really sparked a lot of the conversation with Lincoln. Lynn State is also on board because we had talked about some collaboration efforts with Lynn State as well, since they have such a great computer program and networking capabilities at their building, and then Lincoln could finish out the master's program.
High-tech, modern jobs, good jobs to keep some of our young folks at home instead of sending them packing for their jobs. Beth, the other nugget that I'm reading through the list here, Community Health Center and Children's Discovery Zone. Those seems like maybe 2 different things. The Community Health Center, now, are they talking about the county? Maybe the county has its current facility out on Industrial Drive. Maybe relocating the county health department there, or not?
That could be a component of it, but really what they're looking at is a place where it could house the medical information, kind of like a medical library, where practitioners could use that as a resource center also. A lot of health studies could be housed there. The Centers for Disease Control, they have a lot of research. This information, it would be open and free to the public. They would be able to access that. And right now there's a lot of importance on health and community health. So this would sort of be that springboard for that. But then within there also would be the children's center. It would be more of a learning and a fun atmosphere that families could come and visit that as a discovery center, educational as well as fun.
Now, the other degree program is a subject near and dear to my heart, and that's culinary arts.
I think all of us.
You can tell from my waistline that I enjoy eating. It's my understanding, Ryan, that there aren't very many culinary arts programs in the state or in the Midwest. This might be another opportunity for Lincoln to expand over to St. Mary's make use of some of that space. Tell me about that.
Well, we just thought it was a perfect fit. Lincoln was wanting to expand on this program. It's a needed field in the Central Missouri area because, as you said, I think the closest culinary schools are St. Louis, Kansas City, and it's around Branson area. So there's definitely a need in our area, and I think Lincoln could fulfill that. There is, as we talked about with Beth, so much emphasis on health now and people eating better. This culinary, it would be a 4-year degree. So 3 years of it would be spent teaching the kids about culinary and cooking, but then there would be a year of giving them some business sense as well. So in my mind, not are you training a cook, but you're training an entrepreneur that somebody could go out and have the knowledge to start their own business or a restaurant in our town. And I think that favors all of us.
Well, and very, very close to that facility would be the potential site of the conference center. I know that when we were, and that's the McCarty Street site, I know when we were looking at space needs in that facility, Lincoln University was at the table because as an internship program, so you get some of the students who are in the program, they come over, they work on the convention side, on the culinary side, so once again, we're connecting some dots. Now, the St. Mary's site is about 9 acres, and we've described, would all of these things use up all that space, or do we hope some other things might be going on over the St. Mary's side, Beth?
We think that, I mean, St. Mary's Center is huge. All of the things, the programs that we've talked about would take up about, 127,000 square foot.
Out of about, what's the total?
300,000. So you're talking almost half of the building.
Now, it's my understanding that with these activities, with the traffic, if you will, the hope is that someone, a developer potentially, could come in and given this traffic, given the students, given the research, given the informatics jobs, given the community health issues, all of that traffic on that 9-acre site, that there could be further development in terms of ancillary things, coffee shops, Kinko's, maybe some residential, maybe some apartments or condominiums. Right?
What we found, what's neat about St. Mary's is it's an older building. You know, the newest part's closer to highway, or the oldest part's closest to Highway 50, and then it's been added on throughout the years. So each different addition has its own elevators, entrances. So basically with the programming, with a great job that we've done with an architect, Kerry Gamford, he's designed it so where a lot of the Lincoln programs have a front entrance, but then they go, you know, they're in towers basically. Right. And so that ground level we've left open for a developer really to come in. It's prime real estate. They can try to rent that space and cash flow this project. The only LU program that we have right now on the first floor would be the Children's Discovery Center, just because we feel like that would drive a lot of traffic, a lot of families, give something for the younger professionals with kids to do with their families. So we were excited about that and how the whole layout of the building has been done so far.
I've always kind of lusted after that site because of the parking structure. How many parking?
That's what I was going to say.
How many parking structures?
I don't know how many
there?
parking spaces, but
over 300?
Several hundred
And
parking spaces. And
structured parking is so expensive. I know we deal
Exactly.
with it at the MSP project. We deal with Conference Center project. It's running $18,000 a space, $20,000 a space to build, and we've got several hundred of them sitting over there so that you can just take that expense off the balance sheet because it's already done.
Right.
What was neat too, it's how all these opportunities start intertwining too, because we were talking, one of the opportunities is about a trolley system, and they were talking there's so much parking at the St. Mary's that maybe the station for the trolley system would be at St. Mary's, that, you know, students could actually hop on at St. Mary's, it would drop them by Lincoln University, and that could be some of the transit to get some of these students to St. Mary's. But that, once again, it's just a different opportunity and a different challenge as well.
Some of these things are going to cost some money. It's my understanding that in the coming weeks the community may be getting some news about some proposals at the city council and everything, but we'll wait on those specifics. We won't jump the gun on that because we don't have all the information, and I don't know if there's been a definitive decision made, but if the community is going to move forward, it's going to take some investment. These things don't just fall out of the sky, and happen. It takes an investment by the community.
Well, and I feel like kind of almost a business standpoint. If you have a thriving business, you always have to be reinvesting back into that business to see it grow and flourish, and I feel like that's what we need to do with the community. There's been so many ideas that have been talked about the last 30 years, and that's what's so great for a younger person like myself. I've heard about riverfront development and all of this for 30 years, and that's when the chamber really came and said, are the younger professionals, we need to get younger professionals, we want to do this, we want all these opportunities, and a lot of people just thought it was talk for a certain extent of time. And then once all these action teams formed, and I've seen how much work and time the community's been putting into these efforts, it's been amazing, and I'm really excited about the possibilities that we might have here in the coming years.
Well, it's a 50-year vision. It's like what do we want the community to look like? I won't go 50. What do we want the community to look like 20, 25 years from now? Do we want to make it an inviting place? Do we want our children and grandchildren to want to come back and stay here? And do we want to have good jobs for them? Do we want to have amenities that young people now expect? Or are we going to chase them all the way to St. Louis and Kansas City and New York and Washington, D.C.?
Exactly. And I think right now, one of the things that the Chamber is wanting to do is really raise that awareness out there as far as what these recommendations actually do. And if everyone would just really look at those and realize the benefits that it will be for our community and for their families to help us in this economy, it will be, I think there will be a lot of support. There's already a lot of support in the community because there's been so many active involvement, so they're a part of it.
There are several hundred people. If you look at the list of, and you guys are just one of 9 action teams. Right. Let me talk about something that isn't going to cost a lot of money, but it requires a little bit of a mind shift. And Lincoln University alumni. I worked on that for the last couple of years, and we've had a couple of events to try to heighten some awareness. I ran into some data that was astounding to me, and that is there are, within the central Missouri area, there are presently 3,000 Lincoln U alumni. And Beth, you're a Lincoln University alumni.
I am. Don't ask me when I graduated, but yes, I am.
Bachelor's and a master's degree, business administration. We all know when I went through that alumni list, I just went through and checked off the people I know, and there are people all over the place in Jefferson City and central Missouri that owe their professional position to that great education they got at Lincoln University. And it's I think sometimes it's hard to have an alumni association in the same city as the university, because when you're away from the university, you have some affiliation, and so you tend to be a little more responsive instead of it when it's just here all the time, right? But and we were talking when we were off the air. I've always thought that a vibrant local alumni chapter could really help create some bonds between the community. Beth, you're an alumni. Tell me what you think.
I would agree. I went to school at Lincoln because it was convenient. It met my needs at the time. And, really, since I've been away from Lincoln, I have not kept up with what's going on there. And I think I can speak for Ryan, too, that just going through this process, it's amazing to know everything that Lincoln is involved in, and this community should be very proud of what they are doing. But I think an alumni association would help with that. I, too, was just astounded to know how many alumni that we have in central Missouri. And there aren't any get-togethers. There's no activities, really, that we all participate in.
And my sense is that they're just waiting to be asked. Whenever I've called up and asked somebody to sponsor a little something for an event, it's just like, yeah, sure, no problem. I think they're just waiting to be asked. And one of the things on the program that has very little expense, but one of the things on your priority list that's coming out of this process is reinvigorating the local alumni association. I think that'll help with a lot of these things that maybe do cost some money to really get the community to be aware of what's going on.
Get more of an active chapter, I agree.
Beth, Ryan, thanks so much for spending a few minutes with me. Our time is at an end. We were saying off the air that we could we could probably devote about 5 or 6 programs to this whole project. It's got a lot of moving parts. We just wanted to give the community a little bit of a heads up on just 6 of the nuggets, 6 of the opportunities in the transformation process.
Well, we appreciate being on your show
Yes,
and being
thank
able to
you.
share this story. It's been a great 6 months.
Folks at home, be sure to watch for these things as they roll out in the news. Check into them, attend meetings, get some information. A lot of great stuff going on coming out of this process. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us.